exhibition, Punk Rage and Revolution, which is on until the 3rd of March. Today will be a Q&A talk with Steve Ignorant and also Dr. Claire Allen, who's from the University of Northampton. They'll talk for 45, 50 minutes, and we'll take 10 or 15 minutes at the end for some questions from the audience. Just a couple of housekeeping notes. We're not expecting any fire drills or anything, so if the alarms do go off, it's straight out the doors behind you, through the main entrance and onto the main street. If you need the bathroom at all, again, it's just out the doors behind you, around the corner to the right, and the bathrooms are opposite the cafe. But I'll hand over to Claire and Steve.
Thanks, Jill. Welcome, everyone. It's an absolute joy and pleasure to see so many people here this afternoon to celebrate punk and, of course, to ask Steve some questions. As Jill said, we've got some questions we're going to get started with, but do please be thinking of your own questions as we're going through, and at the end we'll hand the mic around so you've got a bit of time to ask any questions. So, just first of all, welcome, Steve. Thank you. Thank you very much for coming.
Thanks, good to be here.
Yeah, thank you.
It's working, isn't it?
We're all on, yeah, we have to check them. So, I think most people have probably already looked around the exhibition and know a little bit about punk from looking at them. Not that we want to make judgments. And we probably all know that 1976 is a really important year for punk. So can you tell me a little bit about where you were at in 1976? You know, were you a teenager, were you at school, and what was your first introduction to punk music?
1976, I think, 1976, I just moved down to Bristol to get out of my parents' house because they were fucking horrible. So I got out and just moved with my brother and his wife. And I got a job working in the Bristol Royal Infirmary, being a plaster technician, which is basically putting plaster of Paris on people's arms and legs and that stuff. I was really enjoying it. So that's where I was at the time. I was going to join the St John's Ambulance Brigade because then I could learn to be an ambulance driver. So I was going to become what's now called a paramedic. But I really got into it, you know, and really enjoyed it. And then how I got into punk was that I was about to go home, and then one of the nurses came and she went, "Oh, sorry, I've just got a last patient," and it was a Friday night. And I went, "Oh, for Christ's sake." And she went, "Yeah, I knew you wouldn't be very happy." Anyway, this girl walks in, wearing, at that time, very strange stuff. And I went, "Oh, what's with the clothes then?" And she went, "Oh, I ain't heard of punk rock." And I went, "No, I sort of don't know." And she went, "Well, you know, it's this new thing, and there's this great band playing at the Colston Hall tomorrow night called The Clash." You know, I went, "Well, are you going to be there?" And she went, "Oh, yeah, I'll be there." I went, "Oh, okay, I'll come." So I went to Colston Hall to see this band that I'd never heard of. The support band, apparently, I can't remember, was Richard Hell and the Voidoids, for fuck's sake. And I don't remember seeing them at all. I mean, I think at that point I was too embarrassed wearing what then was my height of fashion, which was, you know, with the college boy haircut and just smart clothes. And there I was confronted by all these weirdos, you know, milling about. And this band, amazing band on stage, who looked 20 feet tall, you know, Paul Simon, banging out this stuff. And I was like, and it stopped me. And I was like, my God, this is like being back on the terrace. This is it. Stop the skinhead thing that I was into. No, this is it. This is mine. And that's how I got into it.
Brilliant. So that sounds like a really fascinating first introduction, almost accidental, I guess.
It was, but the only thing was the girl wasn't there.
Oh. So obviously punk was kind of new to you at that stage then. So where did you access punk? You know, were you seeing it on TV, listening to it on radio? How did you go about finding out more?
Well, yeah, TV, because the first thing I saw on TV wasn't the Bill Grundy interview. It was, I keep forgetting what it's called. Janet Street Porter interviewed the Sex Pistols. But they had a bit of their gig on it, and John Long, just before he starts, he just goes, "Get off your arse." And then wearing these strange clothes at the time. You know, I remember turning to my brother, who used to be the intergalactic hippie wonder of all time, you know. I said to him, "What would you say if I came back looking like that?" And he went, "Well, I told you to go and have a bath." And I was like, "Well, that's definitely for me then." So that's, I knew I wanted to be a part of it. I didn't, at the time, I was very naive, so in Bristol I didn't know the venues, I didn't know the pubs where punks were going, because I wasn't a punk at this time. I just knew I wanted to be a part of it. And so I thought, well, what I'll do, I'll just go back to where I know, which is Dagenham, and find my old mates, they're bound to be into it, and we'll start a band. I had no idea how I was going to do it, and that's literally what happened. I just up sticks and moved to Dagenham again.
Oh, brilliant. So can you tell us a little bit about that? So, you know, how did you form that band? How did you get started? You know, who got involved?
Well,
who were the key players at that point?
Well, first I went to see the old mates in Dagenham, you know, drinking bunts and that, and they all had girlfriends or they'd got married and had kids and things, you know, and weren't in the punk anyway. And I was like, oh, well, you know, I better go back to Bristol then. And I thought, well, before I go, I'll go and see my old mate, Penny Rambo, who at that time wasn't Penny Rambo, it was Jeremy Ratter. So I'll go and see old Jerry over at Dial House and the others. So I went over there and it was very strange because the back door was open, leaves had blown in, and I was like, what the fuck's going on? Because usually it was buzzing with people. And he was just him on his own. And I said, well, what's going on? He went, oh, I'm here on my own. G's gone to America. And he said, everyone else has moved out. What are you up to? And I said, oh, I'm just thinking of starting a punk band. He went, oh, I'm into Patti Smith. I went, right. So punk for me was Clash, actually, the Sex Pistols, you know, and he said, oh, you've got any songs written? I went, no, I've got an idea. And he went, well, he said, I've got a drum kit for it, I'll play drums for you. And I was like, oh, all right, yeah. And I said, what are we going to do about guitars and things? He went, no, we won't bother with that, Steve, it'll just be drums and vocals. And I said, yeah, but I want to sound like the Clash. He went, Steve, who else is doing drums and vocals? And I went, a fair point. So that's literally how it started. It was going to be me and Penn. We didn't think we would get further than the Garden Gate. We thought maybe we'd get a concert in the local village hall and shock people, you know, the local residents. But that was it, you know, and that's how it started, literally.
I mean, very chance kind of beginning, it would seem. So how did it evolve from that point? So you and Penn were just kind of setting up and thinking about what music you wanted to create. You know, did you dream of massive success? You know, what were the next steps then to get the band kind of rolling?
Really, honestly, I think me and Penn's idea of being this band was that we would just play every now and again in the music room at Dial House. As I say, if you got a sort of gig at the village hall, we'd do that. But I think really our idea was that we would just shock the people that used to visit Dial House. That's all we could see. We didn't have ideas of making records or anything, you know, like that at all. So it's literally, we just had this thing, we had these things we wanted to say, and that's how we were going to do it. Now, of course, Penny Rambo being Penny Rambo, you know, we just going to be drums and vocals. Right, okay, I'll sit in mine on that. So he's, you know, one of his first songs we do was I Was a Living, so that military max wall drumming, you know. This little sort of balding hippie bloke comes over one day, Steve Herman, who Penn had met during the Wally Hope thing. And blah, 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 yeah. He's wearing this, remember those rainbow tank top things? And yeah, so he's wearing all that stuff, not punk at all. And he goes to Penn, so what are you up to then? And Penn goes, oh, me and Steve started a band. And I thought, I can see what's coming. And I'm standing there on Steve Herman, and I go to Penn. And Penn goes, yeah, you know, it's just drums and vocals. And then Steve Herman goes, I've got a guitar. And I'm going, and Penn goes, oh, why don't we join? And I'm like, fuck. So, and there's my vision of all these like little gorgeous blonde punkettes disappearing. So that's how Steve Herman joined. Pete Wright, who was the bass player for Crash, sorry if I'm sort of taking ages to... he was in a folk band called the Friends of Wensleydale Jasper. and he came out, and they used to rehearse in the music room at Dial House, and he came out one and he went, Steve, I can't fucking do this no more. I went, why don't you join us then? He went, do you know what, I think I will. So now we've got a bass player. Andy Palmer turns up one day. Couldn't play, you know, but, oh, what are you up to? I was starting a band. Oh, I'll be in it. Well, can you play anything? No. Have you got a guitar? No. Next day he comes back, he's nicked one. He didn't play it, so we had to tune into an open chord. So he just had to put his finger over it. And fair play to Andy Palmer. To this day, he can't play the chord. That's lazy. And that's literally how it started. And then Eve Libertine, of course, who used to, you know, was the only person in the room watching us in the very beginning. She had some stuff to say, so Eve, why don't you do it, you know, and then G joined in, and so it all sort of bit by bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've mentioned a couple of things, a couple of times that you've got things to say, the stuff you want to say with the band. So can you tell us a little bit about those things that you as a band wanted to say, you personally and the other members?
Well, personally, I think like I Was Living for me was one of the, if not the first song that I wrote, and I think for me that's it's the most brilliant song I've ever written. It's the best song I've ever written because it's just me, and it just says what it does on the tin, if you know what I mean. It's and even after all these years, is it still relevant? Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know
definitely.
if it's a good thing or not, but it's still relevant. So for me, that was like a primal scream. I just wanted to scream at my parents. I wanted to scream at the teachers that had bullied me. I wanted to scream at the bullies that used to beat me up. Or scream at the authority, the boss at work. I just wanted to scream at them, and that's where I came from, and that background of my stepfathers and my grandparents' servile attitude towards the elders and the bosses. So, yeah, whatever the boss says is right. Whatever the Prime Minister says is right. Which is why I call myself ignorant, because I knew nothing about unions, for example, because it wasn't spoken in the house. So that's really where I was coming from. And then it was, well, blimey, I'd like a pair of traditional trousers, but they're 40 quid at that time, and I can't afford that, so I'll have a scream about that as well. If it's meant to be punk, why is it so expensive? So anyway, Penny Bramble did buy a pair, so I nicked them. So it was just stuff like that, and it wasn't thinking, we never ever, look, let's get this right, we never ever sat down and said, I'm going to write a song which is about this. It's just, how do I feel today? I've written this song, what do you reckon?
Yeah, it's just reacting to what's around you.
Absolutely,
the terrible kind of social.
Yeah, everyone gets it. Yeah, everyone gets it.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously the band did go on to be really successful and really important. How did that feel? How did you deal with that?
Embarrassing. Because it was like, punk, you're not supposed to have an ego, you're not supposed to have an ego. You weren't meant to talk about me, it's about us. And all this stuff, and you weren't meant to be, don't pose, you can't be a poser and all this sort of thing. And we weren't getting paid, I don't remember getting paid for our gigs at the beginning, we might have done, but I never saw it. So no, it didn't feel any different, it was just like, well, what the fuck are these idiots doing here? Oh, fuck, made them come to see us, shit. And that's how it sort of built, bit by bit. I think because of the attitude we had, which was like, okay, we're going to be about the people, for the people, if I can put it in that way. None of us had any ideas of like, if we do this, we can be on top of the pops. We never ever wanted to be on top of the pops. I never ever wanted to be particularly interviewed by Sounds or NME, because to me they were the enemy, if you know what I mean. It was all about fanzines, don't do fanzines, definitely. But the music press, because they're going to, you're talking about sexism, and they stick you right next to a picture of Todd Rundgren's crotch. And it's like, well, that's not very fucking punky. So that kind of thing. So it didn't make any difference to us at all.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you mentioned actually, fanzines and how important fanzines are, and actually in the exhibition, there's a really proud statement that a local fanzine from Northampton actually got an interview with you. Can you tell us a little bit about the importance of fanzines then, and kind of how they functioned within the kind of world of punk?
Well, you have to remember that there was no, in those days, what you call now social media. There was no computers or anything like that. Gigs were set up. Christ, we had to buy a telephone. Before that, we were using the Royal Mail, as it was called in those days. We'd do a gig. Someone would come up and say, why don't you play Coventry? Oh, can you set us up a gig there? Well, yeah, there's a cricket up there. Okay, you set it up, we'll come and play. That's how we used to do it through the mail. So when fanzines appeared, we let them, we did them with open arms, or I certainly did, because I knew they weren't doing it for a paycheck. They were doing it because they really honestly wanted to do a fanzine and be a part of the punk scene. I don't like calling it a scene. And you knew that there was no airs and graces. They were asking the questions that you would want to hear the answers to. And they're incredibly important because you could stuff them in your back pocket. And not only that, they were a great way of advertising the next gig without having to pay for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there is a kind of democracy associated with fanzines, isn't there, I guess, in terms of they're produced by the people, for the people, etc. So it kind of makes sense. You mentioned kind of, some of the sexism involved, and obviously with punk we associate it being very challenging, questioning all of that, racism, sexism, and actually animal rights and all of those things. Can you tell us a little bit about those ideas that were important to you and your band?
Well, it was Eve Libertine who used to go down to Roxy a lot with Penny Rambo, and she used to, every time we played a gig, not at Roxy, but we played a gig, and in the middle she would always start shouting, where are all the women? And I didn't know what she was on about, and she pointed out that the ratio of men to women at punk gigs in those days was like 80 to 20 if you were lucky, So that had to be addressed, and we were using the word cunt a lot in the thing, and it's like that was derogatory about women's bodies and all this, and change a run and all this, and it was just, it should be addressed. Why is there still, less women? Why are there more women involved? I know there was Susie and Susie Sue, and there was polystyrene and things, Jordan. But in your run-of-the-mill gigs, there wasn't, so that's where it led on to, right, let's have women involved in the band and make this as equal as possible. And then that's also why we went on to record Penis Envy, which I wasn't on, but all the women were. So, and I think that was a really good move, because once Penis Envy came out, that's when people started, a lot more women started actually getting involved in being vocalists and stuff, or bands actually started to write, blokes, or young boys trying to write non-sexist lyrics, failing miserably, like they always do, but at least you're having a go. You're trying to work something out of it. So that's where I've got what I'm bloody talking about.
No, we're getting it. We're getting it. We're getting it.
So you mentioned kind of obviously as a result of being in the band, some things came to your attention, particularly that issue that you mentioned, kind of the lack of women. So how else do you think, you mentioned a little bit about how you felt you changed as a result of the band. Do you think that the band, the other members changed? I mean, obviously you're still performing, you're still touring, but in slightly different context. So can you tell us a little bit about that journey, maybe?
Yeah, I think everyone changed. I think the other people in the band changed as well. I mean, certainly Penny Rambo, because I was from the street, working class street boy. And Penny Rambo was from a pretty privileged background, and we never wrote those things against us, and that was important for us as well. At the time, I was also listening to classical music. I got into classical music, and I didn't know this until I read it in a book. But there was a composer called Benjamin Britten, and he had a lover called Peter. And they did an album called War Requiem, which was Wolf Gomes' poems sung by Peter Pears. Now they were both conscientious objectors, and they went to America and recorded this thing. And if that's not punk, I don't know what is. So I didn't understand why if you've got a plucky voice, why can't you be a punk? If you're a classical composer, why can't you be a punk in that sense? So all of these things, it's like if we're going to change, we've got to change everything. Which is why I could never buy into why, these punk rockers, still having a go at each other on a Saturday about football. I thought punk was about leaving that shit behind, but no, it was still there. Even around it. It's not fucking little. I'm playing there, I never did.
I hate football.
But no, it's important that every aspect, if we're going to be different, then we start with a completely clean slate and we question everything. That's the question everything. Don't, take what everyone says for granted. Look for yourself, find it. If it's coming up short, question it and have a go at it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that really leads us on to, obviously, you're significant in relation to the anarcho-punk movement and an aspect of punk. So can you tell us a little bit about that? What does anarchism mean to you? Why is activism important?
I don't know. Look, people might have heard this story before. The reason we called ourselves anarchists was because we had the crucible and we all dressed in black. Right, that was because of the washing machine story. Someone put a grey t-shirt in and white and it all went black. So that's why we went all black. The crash, if you don't know what it is, it might look a bit, you know, sort of dodgy. Anyways, we had the CND people, or the left-wing people, young communists come up, oh, you know, would you be involved? No, we're not left, you know, we're not left-wing. Oh, you must be right-wing. Right, we've got to come and get right, so we put up a precinct to show that we weren't right-wing. Now we've got the right-wing coming over, you know, oh, you know, we've got to, no, we don't want anything to do with you, mate, we're not right-wing. Oh, we've got to be left-wing. Right, so now we've got to put up another banner. So how are we going to do it? Right, we'll call ourselves anarchists then. Right. Oh yeah, but anarchists, those people go around throwing bombs, and they right, fuck it, we'll put another precinct up just to show it's anarchists. Right, so we end up with, I mean, the gigs used to look like washing lines. All these banners. And it was literally that. So, and in those days, did I call myself an anarchist? Yeah. Why? I don't know. I read I'll try to read an anarchist book. 2 pages in, fucking boring. No pictures in it. Not very good, is it? Right, oh, yeah, the Beano, there you go. So where did my anarchism come from? It came from certainly the black and white films of the It's Like a Taste of Honey, Saturday Night, Sunday Morning, the Leather Boys, Up the Junction, Pork, you know, I could go on and on mentioning. From the books, Kestrel for a Knave by Barry Hines was, to me, is my Bible, you know, I still get emotional about it. All of those books, you know, Saturday Night, Sunday Morning, the L-shaped room, all of this. So anything to do with the unfairness or the injustice of this so-called civilised society, which we've still got, and it still ain't very fucking civilised. That's where mine came from, because I don't like that and I want it to change. And the difference between punk and hippie was that the hippies would say, oh, we'd like a new life, if possible. Punk was saying, no, we want a new life, mate. And we ain't asking you fucking tell you, but you're going to get a kick in the head if we don't get it. So, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, great to mention those texts there. I should.
Incredibly important, you know.
So I teach literature for a living.
Right,
so yeah, I met Ken Loach the other day, and I'll share Ken Loach stories after. So let's bring it back to Northampton then. So obviously in the exhibition, there's a big focus on the part that Northampton played in the punk scene. There's a couple of mentions, like I said, of you interacting with local fanzines and also playing gigs here. And famously, you played a gig where you advertised the price of the ticket as one thing, and then you found out on the door that it was something else and insisted on a refund. Can you tell us a little bit about that story? Do you remember that gig and kind of... I should have known better, really.
Yeah, no, sorry, I think that was my puberty period. Doing so many, I mean, I remember playing in Northampton, I think we supported UKDK or something. I vaguely remember that one, there was a bit of a fight there, so I sort of remember that. But I don't remember the other one. We were gigging all the time, you know, it's so difficult, everything. I mean, it doesn't, that sort of rings a bell about the refund, but that happened quite a few times, you know. I mean, I remember doing a gig where, how much did it cost? A pound to get in, 50p if you had a dole card, you see. And then the people who were sort of organising it came up to me and said, you know, why isn't it 50p for everyone? So I tried to explain we need money for, you know, petrol. Yeah, but it's not all about money, is it? For fuck's sake, whatever. So it was blazing round. I'm nearly fucking clonking the geezer. Afterwards it all breaks up, and as I'm walking away, this bloke comes in, he goes, "Hey, Steve, you want a bit of puff?" And I'm like, "You fucking bastard." How much did that cost in those days? You know, more asking, so things like that used to happen all the time. But it doesn't surprise me at all with the, you know, we were very staunch about that. If we say we're doing it, we're doing it. Hence, we shot ourselves in the foot. We've paid no more than 45p for, price reality sign. Because, yeah, 45p, let's do it. So we forgot this thing called VAT. So every time we sold it, we were losing money. So anyone who bought one of them,
It's selling for a lot more than 45p.
Yeah, it does now, yeah, and some will buy it, yeah.
But I guess that kind of desire to make it accessible is really important, isn't it, as part of the kind of the ethos of what you've been doing, and, you know, it's not about making money, it's about ideas, but obviously you have to cover your running costs.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you, Claire, but really it was like all the time. It wasn't about, you know, oh, let's do this and we'll get brownie points for being this. And it was just like, you know, my way of thinking. It was like, right, if we can put out a record and it only costs £2, and a week's wages in those days was, I'll say, a tenner, that means they and it's only quid's getting our gigs, so they can buy a record, they can get in a gig, and they'll still have money for a beer and a bag of chips at the end of it, and, you know, maybe the bus home or something. And that's the way we always used to look at it, you know, keep it cheap. If you can do it cheap, why don't you do it cheap then? So...
I mean, absolutely. I mean, why do you think that was so important? Is it kind of coming from that working class background where it's like, why would you waste money or, you know, have excess? Is it an anti-capitalist mentality? Why is it so important to you that, you know, you're not exploiting people in terms of the cost of engaging with your music?
It was because if you wanted to go and see bands like The Clash and Susan Evangelis and Generation X and all that, you used to have to go and see them at a music machine in Camden Town, which meant you had to run the gauntlet of those brutal bouncers on the fucking door, who were horrible shits with kids, you know. You're paying, how much would you get in? £2 or something, which in those days was a lot, you know. Well, that's not punk, is it? So it was all that sort of niggly thing, and it was just trying to, really, I think if we had an agenda, it was to try and give that horrible music business a run for its money and see if we could screw it up in some way, or at least embarrass them, shame them into doing something.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess it's part of that, you know, changing things and questioning things, isn't it? That, like you mentioned, was so important when the band was being established.
Yeah.
You know, you're really famous for the slogan in the exhibition, there is no authority but yourself. Can you explain what that means? While you're shaking your head.
Well,
I know what it means.
You know, I sort of get it, but it's like when Penn came up with that, oh, there is no authority but yourself, and I went, so I'm totally in charge of, and I'm living in the dollhouse, right, and I'm totally in charge of, I went, right, there is no authority, but, okay, he said, but, you know, you've got to think about it. I went, you know, I said, well, that means I can have a colour telly in my room, doesn't it? He went, I don't think that's quite what I meant by it. I went, well, that's what it means to me. Is that there's no, if I don't know anybody, I can, you know, could I borrow some money off of John Loder and go and buy that 750 water called Suzuki I've always wanted? No, Steve, I didn't mean it like that. Right, okay, so it's, right, it's, so basically what it means is, Steve, you can do it, but don't do it. But there is, it sort of makes sense, you know, but I find it difficult to, you should ask Penny Grandpa about that, because he'll sit here for 5 days explaining that.
I like that. I'm not the authority on this.
I mean, it's you know, I'd be interested in knowing what people think it means, and, you know.
Yeah, maybe we could throw that out to you at the end.
You know, because to me, there is no authority but yourself, but it's, to me, it's, I mean, I've always preferred strive to survive causing the least suffering possible. So that made sense to me, but anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
fucking Penny Grandma.
Where is he? Get him here.
Well, he's not here,
to answer his questions.
And here he is. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about kind of where you think punk is now and kind of where you're at now? Because obviously one of the main things that the exhibition is talking about, and I think people here today are probably interested in, is this idea that punk is not dead. Do you think we can see kind of a punk ethos within contemporary culture? Is it present? Is it there? You know, is punk dead? What
no, it's not. And if you want to look for the punk ethos, it's sitting right here in front of us.
Yeah,
absolutely. You know, you ask, you know, you go to...
We are. We are.
80% of the people you talk to either work in care homes, or they're doing this, or they're doing that, blah, blah. So, you know, that's, there is a punk ethos in today's society. Today's society is even shitter than it used to be. But it's a lot more insidious, it's so comfortable. You know, no, it's not. Is that, you know, I suppose your next question will be, are there any other bands out there doing it? Yeah, there's loads. You know, there's Sunny War from America, you know, the black woman who's doing stuff. You've got Sleaford Mods, all right, they're up there, but, you know, they're still pushing out. Loads of young bands that you'll go and see. You can go into a pub in Norwich or Norfolk, you know, and you'll see a little three-piece band of like 15-year-olds banging out stuff. trying their hardest. It's still there, you know, it's just not talked about in the press or anything, and good as well, because we know who we are.
Yeah, absolutely, it's that underground. I mean, I was reminded, and you might not agree with the parallels, but you know, the Thatchergate incident that you're really famous for, and of course things like Cassette Boy, you know, there's those similarities. So why do you think, I mean, can you tell us a little bit about the kind of context that you think there are similarities today to when kind of, you know, punk was at its height maybe?
Well, I suppose, but now, you know, people aren't, you know, we're not fooled so easily. So, you know, like, I'm sorry to say it, but, you know, look at the Sex Pistols, you know, or certainly look at John Rotten or John Lydon as he is now, you know, it's, you know, look at Billy Idol from Generation X, you know, look at Adam Ant, you know, what do they turn into, you know, fair enough if that's your lifestyle, if you want to be pop stars, then you go and be pop stars, but don't in the beginning say that, you know, I was so upset when Adam Ant, you know, did that, performed at the Royal Variety performance or whatever it was, you know, in front of Princess Margaret, and why? Because I really liked what he was doing in the beginning, you know, he said that he wanted to start a sensible revolution, so it was all like bondage and S&M type cabaret stuff, brilliant, you know. But now, you know, I think people aren't so naive to be thought like that. You know, you've got all your X Factors and all that sort of thing if you want that crap. But no, I think people, you know, won't get fooled again to quote another band. You know.
I hope so.
Yeah, well, you know, and I'm still out there fucking trying it, but you know.
Yeah, tell us about that. So, you know, how are you performing? How are you finding out there? You know, finding it out there. You know, what are you up to these days? I'm sure everyone wants to know.
Yeah, well, I'm just living in Norfolk, and you know, just doing the. I didn't want to call it the Steve Ignorant band, but the rest of the band did. So you know, I'm doing stuff without like crash stuff, and it's really nice to be able to go to places and just meet people from the 80s or whatever, you know, saw Crash in the beginning, and be able to talk to them and meet them, you know, and you know, blimey, we've survived it, you know, we've made it, you know, and it's really nice to know that not only Crash and the lyrics, but other bands like Oyster Girls, Flux Pink Indians, you know, you know, the Subhumans, you know, the Mob, all had an influence, it gave people an inspiration to do things, and that's the wonderful thing, is it's still carrying on today, that inspiration is, and it's still being passed on, you know, from generation to generation. And it's a real, I don't know, it's really emotional, you know. So what I find a lot when I'm performing Crash songs now is that quite often people are crying because it's such an emotional experience. It meant so much, and I can find it very emotional, you know. So I think it's just, I mean, I don't know how long I'm going to go on doing it for, you know, once it starts feeling embarrassing. Or, you know, physically I can't do it, then I'll jack it in, you know. But as long as it feels right and I can do it, I'll carry on doing it. I'm an idiot.
I mean, clearly it does have an effect, you know, just watching people walking around the exhibition today, you can see how important this kind of whole world is to people, and obviously, you know, you've seen that at the gigs yourself. Why, and you might not want to answer this, and that's fine, but why is it so emotional to people and to you, do you think, performing those songs and listening to those lyrics?
Because, you know, the 1980s were a horrible time. You had this menstruating bitch from hell in control of the bloody country. I'm just not going to mention her name. You all know who that is. And you had the troubles in Northern Ireland going on. You had the Falklands War kicking off. You had the miners' strike. You know, all this. You had the 3-day, you know, power cuts. Christ knows what. You had unemployment going on incredibly. You had the Tories in power as usual. A lot has changed, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And you know, to go to a gig, you stood a good chance of getting your head kicked in by someone on a street corner or whatever. And to live through all that, you know, and then to be able to come and hear those songs again without that, and to think, you know, as I say, we've survived it. It's a really emotional thing, you know. And it was an important part of people's lives. It certainly was an important part of my life, you know, which is why I find it emotional, because, you know, in the end, did I succeed? Did Crash succeed? Did we change the world? No, but we contributed a little bit to certain changes. So, you know, I feel, if, you know, Steve, were you successful? Not financially, no, never wanted that anyway, but I'm proud of the fact that I was part of a movement where now you can go into sort of any pub or restaurant and you can get a vegan option or you can get a vegetarian option. So that's, I know it's only a small thing. People are questioning the sexism thing, you know, and the gender thing. All of these things are really, you know, so I'm really, you know, chuffed with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you should be 100%. It's a great achievement, right? I mean, I'm a vegan. I'm all into my animal rights, and I'm just going to sneak a little question in as a little heads up. You can maybe start thinking of your own. Would you mind telling me a little bit about why you think kind of veganism and animal rights movements are so important?
Well, it's wrong to fucking hurt animals, isn't it?
Yeah,
You know, I don't care if you know, people want to knock 7 bells of shit out of each other. I don't give a fuck. But you know, you start knocking an animal around, I'm gonna fucking tear your face off. It's just not right.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to eat the stuff, help yourself, you know. But you know, I'm not going to be authoritarian on that. But I don't want to eat it, and I don't want to see animals hurt. You know, it's dreadful now. Cause
Animals are innocent and they can't make a decision. They don't make a decision.
And you know, those adverts come on. Oh, this dog will fucking turn out quick, and then it's like, oh, something their hair, oh fucking hell, did it? And then I'll watch a film, you know, and it's like, oh God, there's a horse in it. I hope the horse don't get hurt, so I can turn that off now. I'm fucking dreadful. So what do I end up watching? Kojak.
Okay, on that note, maybe we should open it up to the audience. So yeah, if you raise your hand, I can run over and give you the mic, or if you just want to shout out.
I've got a question.
Do you want the mic?
Oh, I can do. Oh. Sorry about it, Steve. I'm not trying to put you on the spot with a film, but John Lydon.
Yeah.
He, you know, recently he's been like a bit passive about the royal family, done all that stuff, and he's been saying that he likes politics. You know, if you don't vote, you haven't got an opinion. Well, as far as I see it, you got Ricky Sumac. You know, he's an immigrant from years ago. His family are immigrants from years ago, but he hates immigrants. He don't want immigrants in the country, but he's had the benefits of it back in the 70s and that. His family have come over and they started pharmaceutical and have made a lot of money out of it. And then you've got Keir Starmer, totally on the other side. He works for the CPS and he's a Mason and he's friends with Boris, and they will not contradict each other because their loyalties go further than the law into the Masons. Mm-hmm. You know, and they're all corrupt, and you know, John Lydon's saying, oh, you should make your votes. Well, how can you make your votes for people that are, you know, they're not putting a straight message across.
Yeah.
Thanks for the question.
Yeah. That's how I see it. What do you think, Steve?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. There's no one to vote for.
No, but I mean, you know, it's, what do I do, you know?
What do anyone?
Well, yeah, you know.
Do you vote?
Well,
I missed it last time, so that was legitimately I couldn't vote.
I didn't vote last time.
Locally, I vote, you know, just get the fucking Tories out. Locally. But nationally, I'm like, yeah, I do know, just try and get the fucking Tories out. That's literally it.
But then
but
they're corrupt.
It's not better.
They're corrupt because they're working for the police.
Yeah.
Hello, mate.
Hello, mate.
All right. I grew up with Crass, obviously. One thing that I've always wanted to know is where did Big A Little A come from?
Big A Little A.
The actual name for it.
Oh, it's a nursery rhyme.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. It's a nursery rhyme. Big
I
A
never
little
went to
A.
nursery school.
No, it's no. That's where it comes from. Big A little A, bouncing B, the cat's in the cupboard and you can't catch me. That's actually
For
yeah.
years and years and years.
You've heard it.
Did you ever pay more than 45p?
Yes, I played it.
Cheers, Steve. Nice one.
That's all right.
Keep it real, mate.
Right, Steve. What I wanted to ask you is, do you still class yourself as an anarchist? What's it mean to you these days?
No, I don't. And I think I'm still the same as I was, back then. That I just don't. I don't like authority, and I don't. I don't like bullies, and that's what I find this. That's what I find this. What's it bloody called? What do we live in? This society. It's a bullying, horrible fucking thing. I don't like it. If that makes me an anarchist, then I'm an anarchist, but I don't see myself as an anarchist. As I say, I don't read anarchist literature. So there was a thing. If I know I've got my own sense of what's right and what's wrong, basically. So, and I'll go along with that. So.
Okay, good answer. Right, just another quick one. What do you think of bands that just play for money?
Good luck to you.
Good answer.
Bear with, I'm just coming over. One second.
They're not trying to cause no shit, are they?
I do.
Hi, Steve. First of all, thanks for coming all the way to Northampton. It's probably been a while since you've been here. But I just wanted to get your take on what does it feel like to know that you've had such a massive influence on so many people. I mean, what I eat and what I wear, what I think, not all down to you personally, but it is strongly influenced by that anarchist punk scene. It must feel quite a big responsibility, I guess.
It can feel that, but most of it feels humbling. And I don't walk around going, "Oh, look at me, I'm the geezer who sort of turned people vegetarian," and all this sort of thing. We were just doing. I was just screaming down the microphone, and it got people come to see it, and people bought the stuff, and then of course, what with the internet and all that, it went even more global. And I still can't believe it. It's like I can't believe how many people are here, this afternoon. And I thought it was maybe 10 or something like that.
Yeah, brilliant.
To see me. I still get that. So it doesn't. I've always said to my mates down the pub when it was open, if ever my head gets too big to fit through that door, give me a right good kick in me. I went, yeah, don't worry, Steve, we'll. That's the way I look at it. Is that it's not only me that was doing it. There was other people. There were playwrights, there were poets, there were filmmakers, there were artists. Look at the street artists of today. That's all come out of it. So I was just a small part of a big thing that was going on. I was fortunate enough to be there at the time.
Oh, we've got a question over here.
Hi Steve. Have you got any anecdotes to tell us about the gigs you did in New York?
The gigs I did in New York.
Yeah.
What, recent?
Cross. In the 70s, late 70s.
Oh, in the 70s? Oh,
Yeah.
blimey. Yeah, no one knew us. Anecdotes. Well, I spent most of my time with a bloke called Johnny Dynell, who was a hip-hop DJ at the time. Well, he became a hip-hop DJ. And he took me out. Now, I can't talk PC, right, so I can only sort of, but I'm not horrible. He was taking me to what were called transvestite bars in the day, and which I found fucking amazing. First, I was like 19, I'd never been out of England, and there I am, this is great. You could, the drugs on the street, you could try it before you buy it. Fucking nitrate, shit. Wow, fucking brilliant, better than shit we
Blows your head off, doesn't it?
Mate, it was brilliant. So what's it got tonight? So I don't remember a lot about it. I just remember big buildings and sort of the inside of the places and me fucking about. Pen ran out of go at me one day for not being in a lot, and I was like, I can't help it, I've got to be out of there. But no, one anecdote, we played this gig, and it was a Puerto Rican community centre, and one of the bands playing was James Chance and the Contortions. And his thing was to, there was no stage, but his thing was to suddenly rush out and tussle with someone in the audience. and yeah, and sort of gets really physical. Well, us English boys sort of don't sort of see it like that, and the silly sod came too close to us. I'm afraid he went down like such shit. And he didn't come near us again, so, but that was the, you know, and then I didn't know, but James Chance actually got quite famous, I believe, so I don't know anyway, but he has to, but sorry James Chance, if you still get to hear this, you know, sorry mate, search you.
Hi Steve. I was just thinking about Shape Women lyrics that Annie Anxiety wrote.
Yeah.
Just wondering, how did you come across Annie Anxiety in those lyrics? And because when I bought it, I didn't understand what the hell he was singing about. I had to go to the library and find out.
Yeah.
There wasn't internet.
Is it about Belton?
Huh?
Is it about Belton and the Jews?
I don't know, you'd have to ask Annie. I always sort of saw it as that. I mean, I think...
About the,
first
I
of
thought we
all-
were changing that.
Yeah,
It
I
was
mean,
about.
first of all, I met Annie Anxiety, funny enough, when I was in New York that time. That's when I met Annie Anxiety. She was sitting on the doorstep, you know, I walked past, you know, blah, blah, anyway, that's all that. And so she came over to England, moved in with us, and she wrote this song. And I think where it came from, she'd seen this picture of a French collaborator with a shaved head with a swastika tattooed, and she's walking through a crowd of people, and all she's concentrating on is the baby. And I think that's what it's about, you know, and it's looking at the contradictions in this.
Is it nuns? Like nuns and the nuns?
Will you shut the fuck up? Now just wait.
I'm up for that.
Obviously you watched Brandon Spears' film now.
Yeah, I have, yeah, and my God, you know, it's, you know, I had to, at one point I had to walk out, you know, it really, talk about emotional, fuck, you know, and it puts that song in a totally different context as well.
Yeah.
So then Carol, that night, because we were performing that night, this is in Belgium, so Carol actually sort of changed the way she did it a little bit, you know, and really toned down, you know, and I think this song struck her what it was about, and it's like, fun. Anyway, yeah.
Excellent, thanks Steve.
Just going to the back, one sec.
Any more?
I've got a question. So I've been in the scene like 25 years, but I've noticed a lot of people, as they get older in the punk scene, tend to get more conservative and right for wing. Why do you think that happens? Well, I mean, I'm talking from my own personal experience, like from America. That's not me. I'm just saying from my own personal experience.
Well, in that case, they must be arseholes.
I'm just coming around the circle.
Cool, that's one of the worst things anyone said to me in my life. Steve, you sound like Tory.
Right, Steve. I'm an immigrant. I looked upon you earlier and I said, who's that chap in the flat cap? And then someone told me who you were. So you're the person we need to see. Now, I was born in 73, so I'm way too young for the original punk scene. But as I've got older, my mind and my views have changed and I've become more mature. I just see this world now as complete conformity. Do you see there being any anarchy at all in fighting against the bullshit that is politics? And do you see there any way out?
Well, yeah, of course I see a way out, but, you know, that's me sitting in my own little room, you know, not going out anymore, and not watching telly and not reading the papers, you know, because I've fucking had enough of it. You know, sometimes I can't watch the news, you know, because the times that telly's been gone out of fucking midnight, I can't, you know, and the papers as well, you know, so that's one way I can see. Do I see that? Maybe I don't see an anarchism movement, but, you know, I still see protest, you know, and that's a good thing. I mean, it's bloody irritating if you're stuck on the motorway because someone's protesting on it, but, you know, it's still there, you know. I just think, you know, hopefully people will look at what the French farmers just did, you know, and drove their fucking tractors full of hay bales in the centre of Paris. Like, stop. come on, English farmers.
Yeah.
Come on, why don't we do, you know, so that's what it needs, hopefully, you know, so it's still there, you know. Somewhere in the world, someone's thinking about it. There'll be another thingy.
Definitely revolution. I see it happening, I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
That coming up like this village.
Right, really quickly then.
I'll piss you off.
Yeah.
No, listen,
I'm hanging for a point.
no, you know, Penny,
Yeah.
do you think he had a different, like, idea to yourself, or do you think you were sort of online, or?
Yeah, look, we agree with each other broadly, but, you know, I mean, best.
I know you were good
Yeah.
mates and that.
Yeah.
I've just wondered if, like, you overlap with your ideas and...
Yeah, did, you know, sort of basically thought the same thing, so that's
Yeah,
why we,
yeah. Thank you.
Hi, Steve. You mentioned earlier some of the other band members, and I was just wondering about people like Pete and Phil and Joy. Are you still in touch with them, and how are they doing?
I'm still in touch with Penny and Julie, and Eve Libertine. They're doing all right. Andy Palmer I've not seen for years. Eve Libertine sees him a lot, because I live in Norfolk now, anyway, so they will know. Pete Wright, I don't get on with anymore at all, and Phil Free and Joy, I was never, even when I was in Cras, never used to, they were an item. So I never used to go out socially with them like I used to in the beginning with Pete Wright and we'd go down the pub. But so it's not a hatred of each other or anything, you know, it's just that some of them I see and some of them I don't, you know. It's just, yeah.
Okay, one last question.
From a gentleman who tore his out, fucking great shirt.
No, I've got longer arms, so it's for my missus.
Thank you. So my question is there anything you wish you did or didn't do with crafts?
Yeah, sold out and made loads of fucking money. No, one regret, yeah, I sort of wish I'd sort of not taken the pacifist stance. Sort of, so I wish, you know, looking back on it, you know, should have smashed their eggs in. They didn't have nothing in them, do you know what I mean? It's, yeah, but anyway, I've made up for it since. I think that's one of the only regrets, but no, I think it was what it was.
Yeah.
You know?
Thank you.
At least you stayed out of prison.
Okay, on that note, I'd just like to say a massive thank you to Steve. And please exit by the gift shop over there.